Have you ever been afraid that the happiness you feel today will be the last time you ever feel it? We often live with an invisible fear of loss. We take thousands of photos to capture the moment instead of actually living in it. We save our most beautiful clothes for a special occasion that might never come. We lock our hearts away because we are terrified that if we love too much, tomorrow we will be hurt. We are like greedy children trying to catch the wind in a cage or trying to empty the ocean with our bare hands. Tonight, let me tell you the story of Kaelen, a man trapped in the fear of tomorrow. A man who spent his entire life doing something insane, kidnapping the sun and locking it inside glass jars, only to finally discover a shattering truth: that what he was storing was not light, but his own darkness. On the edge of the town of Luminara, where fields of sunflowers stretch endlessly, there stood a bare hill known as Shadowless Hill. Upon that hill sat a strange, solitary house. The house had no windows. Or rather, every single window had been sealed shut with thick wooden planks and covered in black tar. Not a single crack allowed air to enter, and not a single ray of light was allowed to escape. The master of this house was Kaelen, a thin old man with deep, dark circles under his eyes, the mark of countless sleepless nights. Kaelen was not a madman. He was a genius of fear. Long ago, the town of Luminara had suffered an event called the Black Winter. Volcanic ash had blotted out the sun for 3 long months. Trees died, a bone-chilling cold crept into every dream, and darkness swallowed all hope. Kaelen survived that winter, but his soul did not. From the day the sun returned, Kaelen's mind held only one obsessive thought: it will disappear again. Tomorrow, or the day after, the darkness will return. I must be prepared. And so, he began his mission to store the sunshine. Inside Kaelen's house was an overwhelming maze. Thousands of wooden shelves reached the ceiling, lining every hallway, every bedroom, and even the kitchen. And on those shelves sat tens of thousands of glass jars of every shape and size. Every day, as dawn broke, Kaelen would drag his strange equipment into the garden: lenses, mirrors, and crystal prisms. He did not bathe in the sun. He hunted it. He used lenses to concentrate the golden rays of noon. He used prisms to capture the violet hues of twilight. He carefully herded them into special jars made of pure quartz sand, then quickly sealed them tight with corks dipped in beeswax. Every jar was meticulously labeled: July noon sun, high heat. Early spring morning, gentle. The last ray before the storm, rare. Kaelen worked from morning until pitch-black night. He had no time to admire the beauty of the sky. He was too busy calculating how many liters of light he had gathered. When the villagers danced under the sun at the harvest festival, Kaelen frowned at them through a crack in his door. "Fools," he muttered. "Laugh now, enjoy it. But let's see who still has light when the darkness falls." Gradually, Kaelen's house became a glittering treasure trove. Even when the night outside was black as ink, the inside of his house was ablaze with the stagnant light trapped in thousands of jars. Kaelen felt safe. He believed he had defeated the laws of nature. He owned the sun. Years passed. Kaelen grew old, and his collection grew massive. The house was so full he had to walk sideways to squeeze between the shelves. But then, a strange phenomenon began to occur. One morning, Kaelen went to inspect the stock of Autumn sun, 1990. He picked up the jar and froze. The light, once a liquid golden honey, had turned gray and cloudy, like dirty dishwater. It gave off no heat. It had no brilliance. It looked sick. Panicked, he checked the others. Summer, 1995. Fading. Spring, 2000. Just a dying flicker. Kaelen frantically wiped the bottles, thinking it was dust. But the glass was clear. The problem was inside. The light was dying. Kaelen did not understand. He had sealed them perfectly. No air could get in. Why were they going out? He did not know that light is like water, like life itself. The nature of light is flow. A sunbeam is only beautiful when it is shining, reflecting, and dancing freely in space. When locked in a glass cage, separated from its source, it becomes dead light. It suffocates. It fades. But Kaelen, blinded by fear, thought differently. The darkness must have leaked in. He became paranoid. He bought more wood, more tar. He sealed every tiny crack in the house. He stuffed cloth under the doors. He plastered mud over the chimney. He turned his home into an airtight tomb. He locked himself inside, hugging the dying jars, guarding them like an old dragon guarding treasure that was turning to ash. Then one day, a massive storm struck Luminara. Black clouds choked the sky. The power grid failed. The entire town was plunged into darkness. Inside the house on the hill, Kaelen trembled. "It is time," he whispered. "The black winter has returned. But I am ready. I have the light." He popped the cork of the jar labeled Brightest Noon. But nothing happened. Only a faint wisp of smoke rose up and vanished. He opened the second jar, the third, the 100th. All dead. Thousands of glass jars, his life's work, now held nothing but emptiness. The darkness inside Kaelen's house was now thicker than the darkness outside, because it was the darkness of despair. Kaelen screamed in agony. He hurled the jars against the wall. The sound of shattering glass rang out like fate laughing at him. He sat on the cold floor, surrounded by sharp shards. He realized he had wasted his entire life preparing for this day. And now that it was here, he had nothing. He had no light. He had no memories of enjoying the light. He only had fear. He closed his eyes, waiting for death or madness to take him. Knock, knock, knock. A sound, tiny but distinct amidst the roaring storm. Kaelen jumped. Who would come here at this hour? Knock, knock. He stood up shakily, fumbling through the dark to the door. He hesitated. For years, he had never opened this door for anyone. He was afraid the outer darkness would rush in. But now, there was nothing left inside to lose. Kaelen trembled as he removed the wooden bars and turned the rusty lock. The heavy door groaned open. Standing there was a neighbor girl, soaked by the rain. In her hands, she held a tiny candle, carefully shielding it with her small palms. "Mr. Kaelen," she said, her voice shivering with cold. "The storm knocked out the power in the village. My parents said your house is high up, so the wind must be strong. They baked a pie and told me to bring you some to keep warm." Kaelen was stunned. He looked at the candle in her hand. It was small, weak, flickering in the gale. It was not as brilliant as his jars had been in the past, but it was burning. It was warm. It was alive. It was real. "Why?" Kaelen wheezed, his voice raspy from disuse. "Why didn't you store that candle away? The wind will blow it out." The little girl looked up at him with clear, innocent eyes and smiled. "If it goes out, we just light it again. My daddy says fire isn't for keeping, fire is for sharing. I brought the fire here, and now your candle will shine too, and we will have 2 lights." A bolt of lightning tore across the sky, illuminating Kaelen's aged face. In that moment, the fortress in his heart crumbled. He realized his fatal mistake. He had tried to turn light, a verb, into a noun. He tried to own the sun when he should have just stood beneath it. He was so afraid of tomorrow's darkness that he rejected today's light. Kaelen wept. Hot tears washed away the dust in his eyes. He threw the door wide open, not just to welcome the girl, but to welcome the storm. The cold wind rushed in, carrying the scent of rain, of earth, of life. Fresh air flooded the stifling house, chasing away the moldy smell of the past. He took the warm pie and held out his hand to ask for a light from the girl. His candle burst into flame. For the first time in decades, his house had true light. Not imprisoned light, but free light. The next morning, when the storm cleared, the people of Luminara saw a strange sight on Shadowless Hill. Old man Kaelen was using a hammer to smash the wooden planks covering his windows. One by one, they fell. Brilliant morning sunshine flooded the house. It struck the broken glass on the floor, creating thousands of sparkling rainbows dancing across the room. Kaelen stood in the middle of his living room, arms spread wide, eyes closed, letting the warm sun embrace his thin body. He held no jars. His hands were empty, but his heart was full. He understood that the only way to keep the light is not to trap it, but to open the door. As long as he opened the door, the sun would always find its way in. And even when night fell, he was no longer afraid, because he knew the sun would rise tomorrow. And if it didn't, he could still light a candle and share it with someone else. My dear friend, Kaelen's story has ended, but perhaps those invisible glass jars still exist somewhere in our own lives. Are you saving happiness for the future? Are you postponing a trip, a word of love, or a passion, just because you fear the risks of tomorrow? Are you trying to control everything, gripping life too tightly for fear of losing it? Please remember, you cannot step into the same river twice, and you cannot bask in the same sunbeam twice. Yesterday's sunlight is gone. Tomorrow's sunlight has not arrived. Only the sunlight of today is real. Do not live like a warehouse full of sealed jars. Live like a house with many windows. Be brave enough to throw open the doors of your soul. Accept that the wind might blow in, dust might fly in, and sometimes storms will visit. But that is the only price to pay for the light to enter. Happiness is not something to be stored in a glass case. Happiness is meant to be spent, to be enjoyed, and to be shared in this very moment. Thank you for listening to Fable Weaver Tales. When you wake up tomorrow morning, open your window and let the sun kiss your cheek.